Hey guys, it's been a while. Good to see you. We're gonna do like a little bit of a mobile recording session today. I'm in the car with my wife and my daughter. We're about to go to date night, but I wanted to hang out with you guys and talk with you about a lot of the stuff that we're seeing concerning the Rapture, concerning the Feast of Trumpets, concerning geopolitics, and this will be a little bit of a to-the-point video, but a lot of what's going on right now is pointing towards the very soon coming of Christ to rapture his church. Now, there are a lot of people who are divided on people like Brother Joshua, who I believe to be a sincere person, and there's a lot of people that are getting angry that believers are looking for a rapture at the Feast of Trumpets. I would say that for those people that get really riled up about it, it's a exciting thing for the body of Christ to be looking for Christ. And I don't think that we do anybody any good by shooting those people down, or by demeaning them, or by publicly accusing them, or anything. And regardless of how you feel about it, I believe that it's important to understand that at the base of it, this comes from a place of being excited to be with Christ. And so I want to just say that first and foremost, because there's been a lot of sharp division in the body of believers concerning this year's Feast of Trumpets. And so I just want to say that, you know, whether or not you're someone who's excited about the possibility of a Feast of Trumpets rapture, or whether or not you're somebody who is a random lottery everyday kind of rapture watcher, both are good, because you're earning a crown for watching for Christ to return. And what I don't want is for the body of Christ to be so caught up in fighting amongst itself that we look like a blemished bride for the world looking at us as we look for our groom Christ to come and receive us and take us. And so my heart with this is simply, regardless of where you land on the whole Brother Joshua Feast of Trumpets rapture thing, whatever side of the aisle that you're on that, the undeniable, irrefutable fact is that so many things are converging and happening at once that regardless of how you feel, it's obvious that Jesus is coming soon for his bride. And we've got a couple of things that are exciting. There was last week, Nevada would literally not stop shaking. I think there was something like 20 or 30 earthquakes and several after tremors. And we know that earthquakes in diverse places is part of what we're looking for. We are seeing an increase in, geopolitics heating up in the Middle East, where I want to say that for a lot of people, especially Americans, and probably a lot of those of us in North America, the Middle East, and Europe, we were looking very closely at last November's presidential election, because we were thinking that one way or another, whoever won that was going to sharply affect the outcome of things concerning Israel, with things concerning the world, with things concerning things like grocery prices and gas prices and all of these things. And the reality is, whether we want to admit it or not, and I'll just say this with a grain of salt and all in love, I think a lot of the same people who get upset and point fingers at those who are waiting for Christ and maybe watching around a specific time of year will also have a very hard time with hearing that your president is not your hope with concern to your day-to-day life, with concern to your eternity. I think there are a lot of people who are assuming that because Donald Trump won the election that it was going to go back to things and business as usual. And what we've seen is, while interest rates are creeping back down for homes, those homes are exuberantly priced and no one can afford them. Groceries might have come down a hair, but they are still exuberantly expensive, and it is difficult for a common man just to eat. I'll be honest with you guys, like that is something that I really wrestle with, and to maybe my detriment and my shame in terms of momentarily taking my eyes off of Christ. I had assumed that because of the outcome of November's election that maybe life would kind of get a little bit more comfortable. And the reality is it has not been, but God has been faithful in providing. And I know a lot of us are in that same boat where we assumed that if Trump was going to get back in office, then groceries would go down and gas would go down and it would be an immediate quick thing and all these things. And I'm not even one of these guys that's pointing the finger at Donald Trump and saying it's his fault that things still are expensive. The reality, though, is that I mentioned this last year and the year before, that I personally, in my heart, believe that we are on a course very similar to a speeding train down a hill, wherein it doesn't matter if you're trying to pull the brakes on the runaway train. The train is a runaway train. And what I mean by that is that its momentum is going to carry it forward and you're not going to be able to stop it. And I think that the state of the globe today is very much akin to a runaway train, in that I don't think prices are going to come back down for a lot of goods, and we know that they're not going to long term, because we know that you're going to trade your day's wages for barely enough bread to keep you alive in the tribulation. Now, is it that extreme right now? Maybe not if you're well off, but for those of us who are low class, middle class individuals, it's hard just getting like a day's like I'll give you an example. Today I went to the Family Dollar store, which if you guys are in the South, you guys know that Dollar General, Family Dollars are like little general stores basically. And to get lunch, things to make lunch, mind you, not even going out to eat, to get things to fix lunch at home, and it was not a very exuberant or exciting meal. It was still like $50. And I'm like, that might not sound like a lot for a lot of people, but for some people, like, that's a lot. Like, to go to Family Dollar and get some stuff. It's like our family was making chili dogs, and so like to get stuff to make chili dogs, $50 is crazy. Like chili dogs and a couple of Gatorades, and you're at $50. Like, that's insane. But like, I use that to illustrate my point of the globe kind of feels like it's at a point of no return. And it's like people are like, oh well, the housing market's going to crash. Like, is it? Because all of your homes are not being bought up by places like BlackRock and all these shell corporations that are going to rent it back to you at exuberantly high prices. And you're hard pressed to find a home that you can buy. If you are, you're competing with an investment company, and you're having to basically go into war with a mortgage broker trying to justify every financial decision you've made since high school and every pack of gum you've bought or whatever. And I'm laughing because I'm like, man, like how like it, like how we are such creatures of habit that like it's like us to fall into the temptation of getting kind of laid back and lazy a little bit. But the reality is, guys, is I personally, whether you think it's going to be September or October, November, December, sometime next year, whatever you think, like we're at the door of Christ's return. Like objectively we are. You know, like in Israel, there were blood moons and different things like that going on. And then there's the another thing about President Trump is, you know, we signed up for what we thought was going to be, I'll say, like not doing the war thing. And now we're beating a war drum with Hamas and talking about possibly sending troops over there. And I'm like, man, that's crazy, because again, kingdom will rise up against kingdom. You know what I mean? And that's not necessarily the ethnos versus ethnos thing, but that's literally nation against nation, like wars and rumors of wars. We're watching that in live time. And you're hearing my little baby cry, and I apologize, but y'all gotta get used to it, because I'm gonna be faithful in my calling, but you gotta be patient with me as I have a whole herd of kids and my beautiful wife with me. But again, we're talking about the fact that things are not going to go back to business as usual. Things are not going to go back to, how do I put this? Like I don't think it's going to get, there are some people who are like, it's going to get better and then Jesus is going to come back. Like, I think that we're here until the Lord returns in terms of the situation, economics, finances, the housing market, groceries, geopolitics, war, natural phenomenons. I just think this is kind of going to be what it is until the Lord comes back. And so what I am going to do is later this week, I'm thinking maybe on Sunday, what I would like to do is I would like to do a live where we can kind of go more in depth about these things and kind of rattle off some news stories. And I do want to go into, I'm a big numerology guy. And so like listening to like the amount of days in between festivals and things like that concerning this particular Feast of Trumpets has been very interesting to me. And I want to do a video where we talk about that and the numbers, because I think that throughout the Bible and throughout the generations, the numbers are important. And I think that we can look at these things and get excited, and a lot of it makes a lot of logical sense. Like, good example, right, is like Bro Tyler and Bro Pete had a really great video, I think it was like two years ago now, where he talks about the Final Four. And basically, if I'm not mistaken, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but he talks about the fact that if we really are in a 2,000 year from the time of Christ window for the rapture to happen and for the tribulation to start, then it would be like 2025 or 2026 is like the latest years that would be the case. Otherwise, we know that might not be, what it is, but we're just speculating, right? So I do think it's interesting that as we've creeped closer throughout 2023, 2024, 2025, and then if we are still here in 2026, which I don't know that we will be, but if we are, it's interesting to see that as we get closer to that time, that stuff is really ramping up and getting crazier, and the pressure is on, right? And not just pressure geopolitically, but like pressure on the individual. Attacks spiritually are stronger. Heresies within the church are stronger. Delusion in the church are stronger. And I will say, one of the things that is heartening, and again, regardless of where you fall in the whole pro-Joshua thing, it is very cool to see, on the flip end of all the divisiveness, the unity that's come from it, and the idea that even if you disagree, we are a unified body waiting for Christ to come back. I really appreciate that, because there has been a need for that for quite some time in the body. And again, whether or not you think that it's going to happen this September, or whether or not you think it's going to be this year or next year, it's soon. And so what we're going to do in this ministry, now that beautiful baby girl is back out of NICU and doing better, what we're going to do in this ministry is be faithful in our calling to report the news as it pertains to biblical end times prophecy. We're going to be going back to doing our Bible study series, where we're going to finish Revelation. We're going to start a Mark series as well and go through the Gospels, and we're going to be maybe more evangelistic in our approach as a ministry and try doing some community outreach and that kind of thing. But the important thing to understand here, family, is that regardless of what we think about the timing of the rapture, it's happening soon. And I think that our time would be better spent serving the King and going about our Father's business than squabbling, than putting off things that ought not to be put off anymore. Personally, it's been one of those things where I had a season for like the last month with the Lord where I was in my spirit, like I know I need to do ministry because that's what He's created me to do, right? But then there's other things like our baby was just born and she wasn't doing well at first, and we had the complications with my wife's pregnancy, and it was like, Lord, in your timing. And when the Lord supernaturally intercedes and provides for the family and gives a clear calling of now it's time to get back to work for the ministry, hey, you're the boss, Lord. And there are a lot of us who have been putting off things that we shouldn't be putting off. And there are a lot of us who are waiting on things that we probably need to go ahead and get done. Whether that's sharing the gospel with those around you, whether that is trying to rectify broken relationships, whether that is you having to make peace with a brother or sister before you bring your offering before the Lord, whatever it is, the time is short and the time is now. We need to get that done. And I will tell you that in a time where there is all of this concern for clout and reach and titles, I will say the purpose that the believer carries out is more important than the title that they carry. And now is the time to do the thing that God has created you to do, whatever that is. If you don't know, then seek Him on it. He'll let you know. So yeah, I mean, we're doing a whole bunch of stuff. What I want to start doing as well is I've got a couple of friends who are authors. A couple of them are really close to me, and I want to read some of their work. And what I want to start doing is reviewing Christian media as well. And so I'll be doing a book review on my friend Ryan's book, and then I have a friend named Jim that has a lot of books that I want to review and start putting a spotlight on believers in our community where we can come together and just be a light, man. And so if we've only got 2 weeks, then it's going to be an action-packed 2 weeks. But if we've got more than that, then buckle up, because we'll be working faithfully until the King comes. Amen. God bless you guys. It's great to see you. Longer videos coming this week, but this was just me getting back into it and sharing with you guys my heart and my thoughts on some of this stuff. So God bless you guys. We'll talk soon. All right. The Lord loves you. He'll protect you. He'll see you through the end. All right. Bye.